Okay, guys, happy Tuesday. I can't believe it's the middle of April. It's gone by fast. Crazy fast, right? So many exciting things going on. We'll talk about some announcements after, but we're super excited to have Charlotte on with us today. Charlotte is one of our diamond friends. She's an amazing leader. She's an amazing mom and has just a great story, and I can't wait to hear what she has for us today. So Charlotte, I'm gonna let you take it away, and thank you so much for being on today. We're super excited.
You're very welcome. I'm honored to be here. Sure.
How she says her last name.
It seems.
You are right. Last
It's like the seams in your pants.
Is
Seams in your pants.
Alicia gonna say it right, or is Beth gonna say it
right?
Just say Charlotte.
Yeah, it's just Charlotte. She's the only one, so you can just go back. You can be at one.
It's funny. Ariel's on here, and Ariel is, Ariel. She when I first met Ariel, our kids were in kindergarten, and I wouldn't call her anything because I didn't know how to say her name. And so I would like, "Hey, girl, what's up?" I would say her name. And so somebody finally said R-E-L, like the letters, and I was like, I can remember that. So now, like, nobody, like people that don't know her don't say it right, and I'm like, R-E-L, the letters. That's how you remember. So,
that's smart.
But I just called her girl. I was like, "What's up?"
I'll have to remember that. It's a good way to cover.
That's right.
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my husband is a pastor. We live in Oklahoma, and we have 12 children. We have 6 sons and 6 daughters, and they are now ages 13 to 36, and pretty much are spreading all over the world now. We only have the 3 youngest girls at home, soon to have just 2, because my 10th child will graduate from high school in a couple of weeks, and we've homeschooled for 32 years. So we've just run them through. So number 10 is getting ready to graduate and go off to college. And I just can't think about it too much because I'll get sad. So anyway, but I am grateful for my family. They're awesome and they're a lot of fun. So I found Plexus 5 years ago, and I saw someone posting about it on Facebook, and I was curious, and I did not know this person. It was Brenda Martin. And I just liked how she posted, and she had 11 kids. So I thought, oh, she'll get me. So I ordered from a stranger. So that should encourage you that you never know who's watching. And so I ordered from Brenda as a customer, and I kept telling her, I am not going to sell this stuff. I have no interest. I already had a blog, and I was really busy with my family, and my previous experience with network marketing had been, it was not worth my time. I had been in a skincare company briefly, and I liked the product okay, and I had quite a few customers, and I seriously have pictures of my bank statement where I would make like $38 a month. And then they would take out $9.99 every month for the free bottles they shipped me. And it was terrible. And so my idea of network marketing was just that wasn't worth my time. Well, after a few weeks of being on Plexus, I wanted my husband to start, and I liked the product, so I joined as an ambassador. And eventually Brenda, after about 6 weeks, kept gently encouraging me to share. And I did. And then once I got my first paycheck from Plexus, I went, this was worth sharing. So that's basically how I started the business. Came in with no intention of sharing. But I'll tell you what changed my mind was not only the products, but just the culture of the company. I was in our team Facebook groups, and I saw that this was so different. I told my husband, these are my people. I just felt so at home. And so that is really what got me started with sharing the products. And of course, in the beginning, I didn't have the belief for diamond. I thought, ruby would be the end of the world, like amazing. And so my belief went up with every rank, basically. So anyway, so I'm super grateful to be here. Let me tell you a little bit about my health testimony. When I started Plexus, I was in that time of life, and in menopause. And I had 8 months of abnormal postmenopausal bleeding at the time. I had surgery scheduled. They'd done an ultrasound, a biopsy, all the things. I was on 2 thyroid prescriptions because of the way my thyroid was working. I'd been on them about 5.5 years. Terrible hormone imbalances. My testosterone level was off the charts, and my doctor couldn't believe I wasn't an axe murderer because my testosterone level was so high, and it just made me feel really anxious. And then I also was taking another prescription called spironolactone, which was to help with hormone imbalance, and it kept those high testosterone levels from making me grow a mustache or my face break out. And I had been on that medication for 2.5 years. Well, my mom and my sister had thyroid issues, so I thought I would be on those for the rest of my life. I just thought I'd go to the pharmacy every month. Well, it turned out that by my second bag of Slim, the bleeding stopped. And so my doctor actually released me from surgery. And she said she'd had other patients do well on Plexus. And she explained to me how hormones and thyroid and adrenals are all connected. So you fix one and, the blood sugar. Turns out that high blood sugar raises testosterone in women and lowers it in men. And so when my husband got on the products and his testosterone levels evened out, did amazing things for him as far as his energy and just how he felt as a man. And we weren't expecting all this. It was very gradual changes. My doctor slowly backed me off of my thyroid prescriptions over a series of months. I was cleaning out a drawer and I found some old prescription bottles. And after a few months, I was no longer on any thyroid prescriptions. And I've been off of them for 4.5 years, and my thyroid labs come back perfect. I have no symptoms. It's incredible. I had no idea that Plexus was going to do all those things. So you can see why I found it easy to share.
Hey, I have a question real quick, because it seems like I have got thyroid people coming out of the woodwork, and I don't have that background knowledge of the thyroid. And what you said just, and I'm so sorry for interrupting you. I feel bad.
Go ahead. No.
Somebody turn their story.
I'm a mom of 12.
Wait, hold on. We got to talk about this for a minute. I muted at the same time.
I know. Just a second. Go back. Because, okay. So, and before I forget, we got to talk about you being in that magazine too. But, okay. So when you said that you were on thyroid medicines for like 5 years or 4 years.
5.5 years. And they kept raising my dosages because I kept having symptoms, and they would do a test and it was lower again. And so I was on pretty high doses of both Synthroid and Armor. And
you did that because your thyroid was low or high?
Low.
Thyroid was low. So then they put you on both. Did you have Hashimoto's or anything like that? No. Okay.
No. And I actually had conversations with Mary Showman, who has written some thyroid books and is kind of a thyroid advocate. And she said that with the issues I had, that being on both prescriptions was a creative way to deal with it. She thought it was okay. It was good. But, I don't like to be on prescriptions whatsoever. And so that was hard for me to be on. But your
testosterone medication was making it go up or making it go
I was also on bioidentical hormones at the time, where they implant a little pellet in your hip, to slowly release it, and messed me up big time. But when they did lab tests, all that was wrong with all my lab work during that 8 months of bleeding every single day for 8 months after menopause, they thought it was cancer until proven otherwise. My thyroid levels were the only thing that were off. And thyroid can be related to abnormal bleeding. But
so what products did you start, or were you on when, because did you start, you know what I'm saying? When I started, I didn't know about all this health stuff, but you know what I'm saying?
Me neither.
What products do you believe helped with these issues?
I started with Slim alone, and then when I joined 3 weeks later, I got that was back when we had the big variety pack, which we kind of have now. And so I got on ProBio 5 and BioCleanse and the original Expector. And I personally tend to do better on the original Expector. I've gone back to that. Yeah. And I take 2 twice a day because I'm almost 60, and my body is depleted.
Wait a second. I just about spit out my water. You are not.
I am 59. Yes.
And I just took a drink of water and about spit it out. No. I'm like, I would have never in a million years.
It's the Joyome. It's the Joyome.
I know you have kids that you know that, but looking at you, I would have never guessed that. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Plexus, I feel like I've aged backwards with Plexus, because I look back at pictures of me and I just was exhausted, because I looked exhausted and I was. So I don't know where I'd be without Plexus. I'm sure I would still be on thyroid medications, and can't even go there.
That's amazing. I can't believe you got off your thyroid medications like that. And the spironolactone, what effects did that have?
I just quit taking it after my doctor started backing me off. And this was under doctor supervision. So she looked at my labs and she said, "You're taking too much thyroid medication." So she started slowly backing me, and she would have me go for labs and then she'd lower it again. I'd go in for labs, she'd lower it again. And the same thing and then one day I just quit taking this spironolactone and I didn't notice any effects, no mustache, no face breaking out, because I had tried about probably 5 or 6 times in that 2.5 years. I had tried to quit taking that spironolactone because it's a chemical, and it's like a diuretic or something. I don't know what it does, but almost immediately my face would break out and I would have a mustache and hair places you don't want to have it. And so I felt trapped. And when I went to the doctor, because it was menopause time, and he just said, "There's nothing you can do," because I told him how I was feeling. And he basically just made me feel like, well, too bad. That's just that time of life. It was incredibly discouraging, which is why I went to a female doctor who did the bioidentical hormones, which eventually messed me up big time with 8 months of bleeding. So,
wow.
Yeah, crazy. But I've had thyroid labs done fairly regularly in the 4.5 years then, and they're perfect. My levels are perfect because of blood sugar and gut health too.
Okay, so about you said you like the original Expector, and Beth and I agree. But because the new Expector Plus is geared towards menopause and hot flashes and things like that. So you didn't see that with that, or? Just curious why you chose the Expector original.
Because I took the other one for a few months, and then after I switched back, I felt better, and my hair and nails grew again. And I don't know what, my body just likes the original better.
It's crazy how it's different for everybody, right? So that's the thing. You just kind of got to guess, or play with it and guess around. And because my mom until made her hair and nails grow after she had chemo 10 years prior, and nothing would work, and then the new one works. It's amazing how they work.
It is
differently for everybody. So, okay. I'm like, we both, Alicia, and specifically, were like, wait a second, we got to stop for a second.
Well, and I tell people, Google thyroid and blood sugar, Google thyroid and gut health, and you can see why Plexus works. And and I wouldn't ever tell anybody. I mean, I was under a doctor's supervision when we backed it off, but
absolutely, Amelia.
Yeah. What slim are you doing?
I do HC. Same thing. I took the other one for a long time. Like I gave it like a year's try, and it made me have brain fog and muscle aches, but joint pain. But that was just me, and I didn't even realize it until I started taking the HC, and that started going away. And that's probably because autoimmune. They've just a lot of people who have autoimmune do better on HC. I have a platelet condition that's autoimmune, and so I feel like I have some of those things going on, and so I do better on HC also.
So what do you do now? You do triplex with original Expector
and Mega X. I take a lot of Mega X and Ease. I take Ease at least twice a day, sometimes 3. I am up to 5 or 6 ProBio 5 a night. And that is because for years when I would try to go past 3 or 4, I would get sores inside my nose. And that was because I had sinus surgery. And I think it was just detoxing from that. And now it doesn't do that to me. But that's one other thing Plexus did for me. At the time when I found Plexus, I had sinus surgery about 6 or 8 weeks after I started Plexus. And my doctor really felt like I had a fungal sinus infection. And he said, because we'd tried all kinds of antibiotics, nothing worked. But he didn't want to put me on antifungals because they are so hard on the body. But when he did surgery, there was a lot of tissue to remove because I had years of inflammation, but he found no fungus. And I totally believe that's because ProBio 5 killed it. That's just my personal, but I had an ear, nose, and throat specialist said that I had a fungal sinus infection, and then he didn't find one after I'd been on the triplex for a couple of months. So
do you take all of those probiotic at night at one time at nighttime?
Yeah, with BioCleanse.
Yeah.
But I'm a person who only needs 1 BioCleanse at bedtime. I take more.
Too much. Everybody is just so.
I know. So my regimen would not work for other people.
Well, and that's why I tell people, here's some guidelines, but do what works for you when you take the products, right? Because it's so different for everybody, and you just have to take them when you can and when they work for you, for sure.
Right. It's an experiment.
Yeah. So,
in a good way.
I'm done talking now because I can't wait to hear more.
Okay.
Tell us about your magazine thing.
Oh, okay. So I have a blog. I've had a blog for 10 years. I recently, a couple weeks ago, I did a 500th newsletter issue giveaway because I've had 500 newsletter issues. But I had written about my experience with adrenal fatigue. I had pretty severe adrenal fatigue. It was pretty bad. If every time I stood up, I'd feel like I was going to pass out. I was exhausted. I had the eyeball. Have you ever done the pupil test where you go in a dark room and you look in the mirror and you shine a flashlight in your eyes and your pupils will get small. But if they get big again after that, that means you have adrenal fatigue because there's some physiological thing that your muscles don't have and your eye don't have the strength to keep your pupil small. So I had all the symptoms and everything. Well, after Plexus, it just went away. Like I didn't do a whole bunch of supplements and just stuff. I mean, and this was even after starting a business and really working the business and being busy. And so this magazine found me because of my blog, and they actually let me say, they told me they weren't going to put it in there because it was network marketing, but they actually did mention Plexus. It was for women first, the one that's by the checkout stand at Walmart, So the article was about sodium intake, which I actually do try to get plenty of salt, which is interesting. My cardiologist said I need lots of salt, which is funny because most people, it's like, don't have salt. Again, our bodies are all different, but so Plexus basically fixed my adrenal fatigue, and that's because of blood sugar and thyroid and adrenals and hormones, that it's all so intertwined, we cannot separate it. And so that's the best thing I ever did.
Okay, what was that last thing you said? Blood sugar, thyroid, adrenals, and what?
And hormones.
And hormones. They're all
just intertwined. You cannot separate them, and you affect one thing and it's going to affect all the rest. So blood sugar and gut health are where it's at.
And that is why Plexus helped you, because you're focused on gut health, which relates to all those.
The root issues. I was focusing on the root causes, and I didn't even know it because I didn't know all this stuff. I wasn't, I'm of the generation where you have casseroles and, I'm just, that's not
I'm
my
of
thing.
that generation too. I'm just going to say.
Well, my family's from the South, it's just not, I'm still not a real crunchy person. I am somewhat, but, not serious, really. I mean, when you're raising 12 children on a small pastor's income, you can't afford to eat all health food.
I
could stretch 4 chicken breasts to feed the whole family, with dumplings or a casserole or something. And so, after doing that for so long, it's hard to get out of that habit, I guess.
I'm like, amen. I only have 2 and not 12, but the same thing here.
We're a family of 28 now with spouses and grandchildren and all that.
And you're in Oklahoma? Where in Oklahoma?
Yeah, in Edmonds. I live in so far north Edmond that we actually are in the different county. We live out in the country, kind of, but we live across the street from a really ritzy neighborhood, which is funny because there are tons of Lexuses in town, and I drive a Lexus even though I live out in the country in this little house. So watch my Diamond documentary and you'll see where I live. So,
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Well, fill us in on how you grew your team and what's your favorite part about Plexus?
Well, the personal growth, I think what it's done for me as a person. I've been a student of personal growth all my life because I had a pretty rotten childhood. I say rotten. It was the childhood I was supposed to have, and so I wouldn't be the person I am now if I hadn't had it. But really, I even remember writing papers in high school that, talked about, wanting to be a better person and deal with issues and all that stuff. So I think because God uses Plexus to peel off layers and make us deal with things we wouldn't have had to deal with otherwise. So in being a leader, I've had to deal with my issues of rejection or feeling not enough and those kinds of things on a level that I would not have had to do so if I'm just homeschooling my kids and going to church. And, because those things would not have been revealed in me. And network marketing is such a rank-based, point-based. It's so easy to compare because you can say, oh, well, I'm this and she's that, or, oh, I'm not that yet. And so we have to deal with those root issues of our identity in Christ and our worth as a person. And I got a news flash for you. You're 100% worthy. I didn't realize how much I was letting day-to-day events make my worth go up and down. So, your husband's out of sorts. Oh, I must be a bad wife. And then my kid did well in this thing. Oh, I'm a good mom. And just kind of all the time basing my worth on outside circumstances, which is rough. It's great when you're ranking up and everything's great, but then when you get stuck at a rank for 2 years, or, you know, your points drop, then you're, so we cannot do that. We have to know that our worth is in Christ, that our identity is in him, and that, you know, that it stays the same. Our worth is 100% at all times. And so that'll affect how we deal with other people too. So you get me started on mindset, I'll go all day. And the reason I talk about it, and it's my passion, is because I've just had to deal with so much junk from my whole life. Here I am, almost 60 years old, and 2 dead people, my parents, still affect me every day. And I loved my parents, and I was grateful to be near them the last days of their lives, and see forgiveness and see God change their lives and all those things. So would never want to dishonor them. But, the things that happen to us as children, definitely, we tend to get our self-image from that. And so that's definitely something that affects us the rest of our lives. So, in fact, if you want me to, I have a little bit to talk about our thoughts.
I would love it.
Okay,
I would sit here and listen to you all day. So you can do what you do. I am like this, like, oh my gosh.
We are. And just that you have 12 kids. Like, let's just say, forget Plexus. Girl, you raised 12 kids.
One at a time.
We would need to have like a daily minute by Charlotte for our team every day. Or maybe just for me personally.
You're so humble and sweet and kind, and you're a diamond in Plexus, and you've got all these kids, and you've homeschooled them. I'm just in awe. So you tell us whatever.
You just tell us whatever you want to tell us. Yeah.
See, I did Plexus just like everything else in my life, one day at a time. So I started homeschooling with one little kindergartner one day, and then I did the next day. I'm really good at perseverance. So I would say, and then, even God, gosh, with our family, we were so poor, but we were cheerfully poor because it was a calling from God to have our family. And so I feel like Plexus has been a reward, because years ago, when my husband had a vasectomy reversal, that's a whole nother story. After we had 4 kids under the age of 4, then he had a vasectomy. A year and a half later, he had a reversal. And God promised us he would always take care of our family. And so it always worked out. I don't know how we made it, but then I feel we always paid tithe. We stayed faithful. And I feel like God said with Plexus, here, you stand right over here and watch what I'm going to do. Because it has just amazed me, because of influence we built up over years, and people trusted us, how the business grew. And, it's just been an amazing blessing for sure. But I want you all to think back over the last 3 months and think about, how have you viewed yourself? How have you thought of yourself over the last 3 months? I think one of our number one thought issues is that we think I'm not enough. I think most of us have been there, especially like I said, in this business where we can compare with each other. We all get hung up on it. And, we hear people say all the time, well, I don't believe in myself. I used to say that when I was coming up through ranks. I used to say, I think my biggest issue is that I don't believe in myself. Well, I'm going to kindly tell you, because I did it, is that's actually an excuse, because you can hide in that, because you can think, well, don't believe in myself, so I can't go any further. And it's actually code for I'm not enough. And so it's just a nicer, safer way to say it, that I don't believe in myself. But what we're really saying is that I'm not enough. And it sneaks in. And that's because we practice those thoughts, so we believe them. And we get a thought and we water and fertilize it. And I wish I would have known this as a young mom, that I didn't have to think every thought that came into my mind, that wasn't truth, and I didn't have to make it my truth. I remember begging God as a young mom to change my attitude. I asked him to help me, and I did not realize he had already given me everything I needed to do that, because I had choice. And I could choose what to think. Sure, things pop into your mind, but you get to choose what to water and fertilize and what to believe. And that is something I wish I would have known as a young mom. Probably would have been a lot easier. And so really our job is to manage our thoughts and our emotions. Between every circumstance and your feelings, in the middle is always thoughts. So we may think something happens and it made me feel this way. Nope, there were some thoughts in the middle that made us feel that way. And sometimes there are thoughts that are old habits of thinking, because maybe all your life you've thought, I'm not enough and I'm not worthy. I don't deserve success. I don't deserve more money. Maybe those are thoughts in your subconscious you've had. You've practiced them for so long they feel true. And so when somebody, you're a friend on your team has a fabulous rank up and your thought is immediately that, oh, I'm not enough. She's great. God did that for her, but I'm not worthy. The reason you have those feelings is because of the thoughts between the circumstance of your friend ranking up and how you feel about it. And we just don't feel, we don't feel worthy. We don't feel deserving of success because we've practiced the thought so long it feels true. It is not truth, but it feels true. You are always 100% worthy. And if we feel less than and unworthy because when we look at our rank and our points or all those things, that is not proof. Your rank and your points are not proof that you're unworthy. Only if you think it is, if you've attached that meaning to it, but that is not even on God's list of what makes you worthy. It's a super highway thought. You've made a super highway in your brain because you've thought it and thought it and thought it, but it is no longer serving you well. And so it's time to take those thoughts captive and to change them. And so maybe you haven't mastered the skill of believing that you're worthy or believing that you're enough, but you can get there. And I'm going to give you just a few practical steps. This is going to be really short, but I'm going to give you a few practical steps that can help you do that. You can practice changing your thoughts. You can practice new thoughts. And here's a few practical steps to help you do that. Number one is awareness. So notice your feelings. Notice when your heart falls or when you feel that jealousy or when you feel less than. Notice the feelings and then trace it back to the thoughts that cause the feelings. And sometimes we almost want to feel sorry for ourselves. We almost want to think, well, I have a right to feel this way because of what she did or whatever. I guarantee you what you're thinking and feeling isn't hurting her. she's going on her way doing whatever, So, we only hurt ourselves when we, something happens one time. Somebody says something maybe and it hurts our feelings. It only happened one time in a moment, but we make it happen over and over and over and over because we think about it, we relive it, and we hurt ourselves over and over and over. And the thing only happened once, but we make it last for years because we keep thinking it and thinking it. And so stop that, break the power of that over yourself and choose to think differently every time it comes up. Think no, do some self-talk. Take yourself in hand and say, nope, that is not true. And then say something positive that's true. So have that awareness. Ask God to turn up the volume. And so that you'll notice whenever you're thinking those thoughts. Number two is to flip the switch to gratitude. And I know we hear this all the time, but gosh, guys, every successful person in the world, I don't care if they're secular or who they are, they all talk about gratitude, and there's a reason for that. And a practical way you can do that, besides writing things you're grateful for, is to just practice flipping a switch. When you first gain awareness in the morning, when you wake up, before you open your eyes, lay there and think of things to be grateful for. And I don't care if it's thankful for your soft sheets or your warm bed or that the sun is coming up. It doesn't have to be this fabulous, thank you for everything you've given me, and name off your family. It doesn't have to be a trip to Hawaii. I mean, whatever. Just think you're setting the tone for your day to start the day with gratitude. So you discipline yourself, and eventually it's going to become a habit. when you wake up, what am I grateful for? Instead of when you wake up, oh gosh, I have to take the dog to the vet today, and then I have to do that. That's a totally different tone for your day. So set it for gratitude. And number 3 is to use questions, because our human brain is designed to answer questions. If I ask you right now, what color is the room you're in, your brain's immediately going to think of the answer. If I ask you a question, you almost can't help it that you have to answer the question in your brain. So use questions to your advantage and ask yourself things like, you can be in the shower, getting ready in the morning, and think, what's one thing I can get excited about today? What's one thing I can get excited about today? There's got to be something that you can get excited about, whether it's going to get pizza for supper or something. It doesn't have to be big, but just one thing. Number 2, what's one word to describe the kind of person I want to be today? Now, I don't know about you, but for me, it's powerful. Let's say I'm going to write a blog post. It's been really tough to keep up with my blog since I've been busy with Plexus. And so I try to get out, a newsletter every week, but a lot of times I think to myself, I don't want to, I don't have time, I'm too tired. See what I'm doing to myself? I'm painting myself into a corner with my thoughts. Is it true? There's ways to not be tired. You can jump up and down and get some energy going. You can think, I feel great, and it will change how you feel. Try it. I've actually done that to stay awake while driving on a long trip. I feel great. Changes your energy. But if I think of myself, I want to be the kind of person who stays consistent with the blog. That's powerful to me. That's the kind of person I want to be. And so if you can ask yourself, what's one word to describe the kind of person I want to be today? And then another question you could ask is, who needs me to be on my A game today? So many of us want to serve people and help people, and it's hard for us to think of ourselves, but it helps me to think, who needs me to be on my A game today? Maybe it's someone on your team. Maybe it's your family needs you to go out and make some money to help your budget. Maybe it's a new customer you have that needs you to care for them and help them. So that can kind of shake you out of your complacency also. So remember that between circumstances and feelings, there are always thoughts. So thought work is some of the most important work you can do in this business. One time Helen McFadden said this to me, and I totally agree, that this business is 90% mindset. And I agree, because if we have our thoughts right, our mindset right, we'll do the work. We'll do the things. We'll say the right things. We'll do the things if our mindset is right. And it's just awesome that we have the power to change our thoughts, and we get to choose. We get to choose our thoughts. So that's my little sermon for you today.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm writing. Hold on, I got to finish my thought. Okay. Listen, you got to read these. You got to read these comments. Seriously.
I'll look at the chat here.
Yes. I seriously need to have a chat with you every week.
Oh, thank you. Gosh, guys. Whoa.
Seriously, this has been so amazing, and it's so true. And I know even conversations that I had today, we look to the side and we look around and we look and see what people are doing. And so many times that defines our mood for the day, or that defines how we're going to go along the day. You know what I mean? And so you're 100% correct. I mean, you absolutely have to do the work for sure, but your mindset can totally define how you're going to do the work and if you're going to be successful in the work, for sure.
And, just because you have these, challenges with this, you're human and you have a human brain. So always walk in love and forgiveness for yourself. Sometimes the person we most need to forgive is ourselves, because we are so hard on ourselves and we get onto ourselves all the time. But if you find yourself, believing something, thinking something, don't think, oh, that was dumb, I thought I was over that. No, don't think those things. Think things, just walk in love and forgiveness for yourself and for other people also. That's been a huge lesson for me. That can actually change relationships if you don't even have to say a word. If you choose to walk and think and speak love and forgiveness over somebody, it can change a relationship even over the miles. I've seen it with my own eyes. And I have been in some pretty intensive life coaching in the last year. And I would say the number one thing that my amazing coach has worked with me with has been, Charlotte, it's your thoughts. So,
everybody has them. And that dang devil gets in your head too and says, you're not good enough. You're not worthy, whatever. Yes. You're not like that person. And even as a diamond, we look at each other, and we've all gotten to the top, but we look at each other and compare and think, I can't do it like they can. They're a much better speaker than me. All these thoughts, they hit that contest 2 months before I even kind of got close. It's all thoughts, and it's always comparison. And we say all the time, comparison is the thief of joy. And it truly, truly is. And so this is our journey. God has blessed each one of us with this journey, 1,000,000%. You can't tell me that he hasn't, just from this conversation today. If you just joined like yesterday and you're on the Zoom, this call has blessed you, and God has given that to you. And so we need to remember that. But I'm telling you, that devil gets in your head sometimes, no matter what, and makes you think, oh, well, what if I can't do that again? What if I can't get this? What if I can't get that? This is your journey. This is my journey. My journey looks different than, a lot of other people's journeys. My personality is different than a lot of other diamonds' personalities. But that's what's unique to us, and that's the gift that we've been given. And so you're right. Our thoughts, 1,000,000%, have to be,
Well, and don't you think the enemy of our souls wants to keep it hidden from us how important our words and our thoughts are?
Right.
I mean, there is so much power in our thoughts and words. We move towards what we think about, and we get more of what we think about. We get more of what we focus on. So if we're continually talking about how I don't have any rock stars, my points went backwards, I lost rank, this and that, all the things, if that's what we focus on and talk about and think about all the time, we're going to get more of it. And the thing is when we think about the future and speak about the future, we're trying to predict the future either way. We don't know if it's going to go, if you're going to make the rank this month or if you're not. We don't know because we can't tell the future. But why not err on the side of hope and speak? Because I promise you that a lot of times what we speak is going to create the things that we want. The problem is we create things we don't want all the time because God spoke the world into existence. The scriptures in Romans, it says that God says, let me see, how is it? God speaks the things that are not as though they were. We're made in his image. We create. I think that's another secret from the Bible that people don't understand. And I think the devil wants to keep it from our meaning. And I'm not saying, I'm not saying the name it and claim it, although there's more to that than people think, but I mean, or the, hey, I want $1 million on my bed right now. That's not what, I'm not saying the woo-woo weird stuff, but I am saying that if we speak death over our lives and our business and our relationships, that we're going to get that. It all works together. There's something about, I happen to believe that prayer is a physical thing, and that words are physical things that go out into the world, the little particles, and you curse someone and talk bad about them, and it's going to affect them even if they are not right there. We have to be so careful what we speak about our company and about our business and our teams, and speak life. That's what we want to do. Speak life over ourselves. So,
oh my gosh, this is so good. Like, I can't even, I'm not even kidding. Okay. So tell me this, because you do still have 3 at home that are homeschooling. Mm-hmm. And I know that, is your husband still actively a pastor? Is he? Mm-hmm. Okay. I thought so. I couldn't remember for sure. So I know that brings responsibilities for your entire family, because it's not just him that's in the ministry. So what does your day look like? Because so many people say, I don't have time. I'm so busy. I don't have time for this. And I mean, I have my story on that whole situation, but tell us what yours looks like, because my kids weren't home. I was working a million jobs, but my kids weren't home. You know what I'm saying? So do you have like a set day, a set routine, or does it change every day? Or do you have certain things that you get done every day?
Well, of course, no one's perfect, but this is what I strive for. I strive for not waking up and picking up my phone, because then that takes my brain away. In fact, I try not to schedule things in the mornings as much, and today was fine, but because I'm kind of a slow start in the mornings. I don't start reading to my girls till about 9. So we're not real early homeschooler. They get up and do their chores and they clean house.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm looking at like your room right there. It's so pretty. Like I'm like, it looks, it's beautiful.
I did make my own bed, but I mean, pretty much. And my husband is really on board with this, and so he, you know, they take over a lot of things. And after having had such a big family, you know, like having 3 girls at home, are you kidding? This is easy. You know, 'cause they're 13, 15, and 19, and you know, so it's, you know, we have our routines, all that. I do try to assign days to things I'm going to do. Like I have a certain day of the week I focus on the blog more. Other days I do more Plexus. Of course, there's always, and I don't have any notifications on my phone. I have no email notifications, no messenger, no sound, no vibration, because I'm going to choose when I pick up that phone and, you know, do messages and stuff.
But I think that's a huge lesson for every single one of us, is that phone. Yes. These phones are amazing, but these phones are the death of us in all things. Yes,
absolutely. And like when I'm reading aloud to my girls, and I read aloud to them still, it's really, really important. We're reading aloud about all the battles of World War I right now, and it's fascinating. And so it's really special time together for us. And so if I, you know, either my phone's in the other room, or if it's right there, the only person I pick up for is my husband or one of my grown kids or something, because they don't normally, you know, text during the day. But anyway, so I think you have to just have boundaries for sure and make choices ahead of time. I always have my feelers out with my family to see who needs me more, and who I can kind of tell, you know, they need some time with me. Or last night I took my 2 youngest to eat and look for Easter dresses and things like that. And I used to feel guilty sometimes when I would spend family time, like, oh, I should be working. And then when you're working, you think you should have time with your family, until my coach helped me understand that I had 3 major projects in my life. My number one most important project in my life is my family. And so whenever I spend time with my family, I'm working on my most important project. You know, my 10th child's going to graduate. We put on these fun, beautiful parties. My grown daughters help with all that. And somebody got married in November. That was a huge project. But every time I spent time on that, I was working on my most important project in my life. My second most important project is my personal business, and that includes my blog and my own recruiting and things like that. And then third would be managing the business and things I already have. And so included in that family project is managing my home. You know, we're having all the extended family over Sunday for Easter, like all of them, to do the Easter egg hunt at our house. And so that's kind of a big deal. So I'm already thinking about all that. But anyway, so it just helped me that when I know when I'm spending time with my family, that is my most important thing in my life. And so I don't feel guilty anymore. And it just really helped release a lot of stress and guilt for me. When I put the business aside. I really like going to movies because you can't talk on the phone or text or anything. So if I'm kind of feeling stressed, we'll go to the movie, because I know, you know, I'm going to put all that away. So anyway, I don't know if that helps. I do try to be very purposeful about my time.
It's awesome, for sure. Yeah. And that's a good way to look at it. And definitely trying, when you are with your family, to be
present. Yes. Yeah.
Because that's huge. And I know that so many times my life gets out of balance, but that's, you know, something we strive for. So, and I have 2 and you have 12. So I'm like,
well, and you know, balance is not a word I love. It's more like, you know, a symphony, you know, because balance is like you're on a tightrope and you're carefully walking. And if the wind blows, you fall off the tightrope. You know, you can't have perfect balance, but it's more like an orchestra when you're the director and you have the music, which is what you want to accomplish. And sometimes some part of your life is going to rest, and this part is going to be louder. And so there are definitely times when Plexus is louder. My family knows when it's the last week of the month and I've got people wanting to rank up or whatever, and I talk to them about it. And so they know that part's going to be louder. But then this weekend, when my son, you know, when they're all here and all that, then Plexus is going to be resting, and that part of my life is louder. So then I don't have to feel guilty, because it's all kind of a symphony, and I want to make sure it's, you know, the music is beautiful. I don't want it to be one part all the time. But I think that helps us to think of it as going in and out more than perfect balance all the time.
Right.
So
that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
I have learned that balance is not necessarily the word that goes with us in our business, because really, I mean, I could be with the kids or at, a park, but talking to another mom about Plexus. Like I could be doing two things at once. It's not necessarily having to balance, it's fitting it in and making it all work smoothly, right? You kind of like what you said. I love the way you did that analogy with the orchestra, because it's so true. And especially like last day of contest, or like last night with the codes. Like it's just you're going to have certain times we're going to really have to devote it to Plexus. So
right. And my family knows why. We explain, and they know they've gotten to do things, and we've had things because of Plexus that we wouldn't have had. And I just think it's really important to have them on board. If you haven't watched my Diamond documentary, my family, it's mostly about my family, but you can tell I did not throw my family under the bus to do this business. Sometimes people can kind of hold themselves back subconsciously because they think that being successful means you're going to throw your family under the bus, and that is not true. You can choose to create the life you want to create. And so you can choose to still have your family be your priority and do the business. And it's not perfect, but overall it can.
1,000,000%. Like if it meant having to not have the time with my family, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Because that's, so important. Now, that doesn't mean that every once in a while I'm not going to miss a basketball game or whatever. I hate missing those. And obviously, if, there's certain ones that I won't miss or whatever, but there has to be that, commitment sometimes that it is, that is. But my family is put before this. But they also know that there's times like last night, I was doing the opportunity call with corporate at 7. So I made dinner. We ate dinner, and I came in here, and they knew I was like, don't let the dogs bark. It's a great time in our house. But they knew it's no big deal. I'm like, when I'm done, we'll go do whatever y'all need me to do. But, it is, you just have to, they most definitely are my priority. And they asked me to do it last week, and I said no, because we had a family thing. I was like, I can't do that. So I think that that's very important too, because some people do look at it as, I'm going to have to put them to the side. That's not, no, for sure.
Right. Absolutely. So.
Yeah. Okay, Alicia, do you have anything else?
I don't. I got to go. I'm going to watch it again when we get the recording and listen to it again. I mean, the one thing that really, and I am really bad about letting things, stewing on things. I'm a stewer. I'll just tell you right now, I'm a stewer. And when you said something about somebody may say something once, but you hold on to it forever and keep replaying it in your head, they have totally forgotten what they said to you that upset you. It is not bothering them. They are way past it. Whatever, and they may not have even said it in the context you took it, right? But you're going to always say, oh, that girl, when she said da-da-da-da. And then, it gets in your heart, and you're thinking, well, I can't be successful because so-and-so said this about me. And it's us. We have to turn that thought and what somebody else said away, right?
We have to stay in our own brains, get out of other people's brains and what you assume they're thinking about you, and stay in your own brain. That's a big enough job to maintain our own thoughts and emotions and manage those. We got a big enough job.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for that. So.
Thank you for all of this. Seriously, this has been absolutely amazing. And you have just, I know that you have changed somebody's life today.
Well, and I know our teams are going to love this recording. So we're having a hard time getting people on in the mornings lately. And I think it's just that they're not seeing our posts. Mm-hmm. But they do watch the recordings. And so I'm so thankful that you were able to jump on with us today. We appreciate you, Charlotte. We'll see you soon at convention.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye, Charlotte.
Bye.
Bye.